Welcome, warrior. Let's start out with 5 by 5. Can everybody hear me? Let's check in. Let's have a bit of a roll call. I want to make sure we are all smoothed away and everybody can hear me. So please check in. I see Edie's already here. Edie, thank you. You're always the best warrior in reminding everybody, because I always forget to hit the like button. That means so much to us. I don't think everybody understands when you're doing videos, the more likes, the more they will put the videos, the discussion into the rotation. And you know, and I know with the subjects we talk about on the Warriors, that we want to get this important information out to the public. So Edie has checked in. Please check in as everybody's filtering in to the Warriors, and we will get going on this Monday afternoon. Well, Edie says 5 by 5, so I'm just going to go for it. Oh, Lionel Nation, loud and magnificently clear. 5 by 5, full transparency. I'd like to say thank you, husband. I want to talk about some very an important story that broke yesterday. There's Claudie, and that story is about Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Those three platforms belong to Meta, which is Mark Zuckerberg. Now, the Washington Post pretty much broke this story. Everybody else is jumping on board with it. And it is that they were well aware, and listen carefully to this, well aware. They have 4 whistleblowers now, 2 former Meta employees and 2 current Meta employees. So they've come forward, they're blowing the whistle to say that Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, they all knew, thank you, Karen, 5 by 5, it's official, they all knew about the harms to children, that they're alleging that everybody knew about this at Facebook, and I should say Meta, because we call it Meta now, and that nothing was done to curb this child predation, that nothing was done. They were even told in internal emails to change their language so certain words were not used. This is a new group of whistleblowers, and they claim, the 4 of them, that Meta restricted research into how virtual reality offerings could negatively impact kids and teens. And this is being reported again in the Washington Post, and everybody's jumping on board. But did you know that 90%, remember metaverse? We had that going on for a while a few years back, and then that kind of went away. The virtual reality, the metaverse kind of thing. Remember, they were showing us examples online with those glasses. Kids were putting them on in teens and then, punching and kicking in the air because they were seeing something in these glasses virtually and then acting it out, or in that universe, metaverse, whatever. That kind of went down. But did you know, and I was shocked to hear this one, that 90% of those using metaverse were underage. And also, the age for all of this on Meta is 13. 13 is still a child, and there's no true real age verification. Kids are just going on, kids are savvy and checking off boxes, I'm 18 plus, or whatever it is. But the allowed age is 13 to start with. So there really are no guardrails or safety measures. But I want to tell you a little bit more about this, because we go back, and I can't believe it's 4 years already. There was a woman named Frances Haugen, and she came forward as a whistleblower, and she was a Meta former employee, and she leaked internal paperwork from Meta to Congress. And if you go back and think about it, we had hearings after hearings, and it was all over online and in the media. And she was saying that 4 years ago, so she was the whistleblower then. So 4 years later, and I can't believe it's 4 years already, nothing has happened to safeguard kids. In other words, the bottom line for all of this is Meta, no matter what, doesn't care about the kids. The bottom line for them is making money. Eyeballs, just keeping the kids there so they can get all this ad revenue. Now remember, by keeping the kids online, they're also lying to advertisers, right? About what their stats are, about who's actually watching. So there's so much going on. But here are a few examples I want to tell you about. Meta approving of all these related studies on social issues, and then just saying they had significant product updates, including parent supervision tools and VR, virtual reality devices, are made for people over 13. All kinds of things. I can't believe what's going on, but they basically buried the research. Buried. And also I saw somewhere they were told, the employees, not to use certain words, about underage kids and things of that nature, and to be careful what they were even internally sharing in their different emails online so they could get around all of this. Now, this is just absolutely criminal. And what does it say? Uh, it says also on Monday, which is today, the former head of security at Meta-owned WhatsApp, remember that's part of this whole Meta company, filed a lawsuit accusing the company of ignoring privacy and security issues that allegedly endangered users' information. Now think about kids. When I just told you 90% were the ones using, underage kids, 13, using the virtual reality, alleging, yeah, oh my goodness. Former employee is dismissed for poor performance and then goes public. Okay, so that's what, as usual, these big tech companies, they will dismiss somebody, a whistleblower, anybody else who lodges a complaint. And it's usually the same thing. A lot of companies do this: poor performance, right? They stick HR on you. They eventually get you either to quit or poor performance. I think the other thing we have to bear in mind is we have to be that warrior. I can't say this enough. Our job at the Warriors is education, raising awareness, and for you to take action. This is so urgent right now. I want you all to, here on the channel, I just posted an interview with South Carolina State Representative Brandon Guffey. It is a heart-wrenching, true story of how his son Gavin, victim of sextortion, and took his own life. There's Fred popping in with the much needed 10 Warriors memberships. Fred, you are our warrior of the day. Because remember, this is what makes the Warriors get out there in the front of the pack. Truth, stats, studies, headlines you're not really hearing about anywhere else. And so, Fred, to you, our Warriors hat goes right off today, because we need this information to get into the public. That's where the memberships go. That's where the donations go. So we thank everybody for that. Now, Brandon Guffey, let's get back to him. 3 short years ago, this happened. And I really want you to go back and look and listen, I should say, to our interview. Seconds before I sat down here, I put that up. We just did it today. It is just gut-wrenching. His 17-year-old son, who had everything to live for, took his own life. He was sextorted. It is sexual extortion. People still do not understand what sextortion is. I understand. It's ugly. It's dark. We have to look at this because so many kids are embarrassed. And instead of coming to their parents, they'd rather do away with themselves because they don't know what to do. We have to inoculate an arm from the youngest age appropriate, about these predators. So I'm urging all of you to listen to us, and then to also go back. I didn't list it in the body of the video. I was sticking with the great work of Representative Guffey. We were in Washington together at the White House in the Rose Garden for the Take It Down Act recently. Also, he's doing tremendous work and created Gavin's Law. He is a true warrior. He took his pain and turned it into purpose. And it's his story to tell. So as usual, other media outlets, people will drag the low-hanging fruit. And we have algorithms here. I think you know what I mean. His son's actual story of what happened. I'll let you, because I know all of you are smart, look up the story. I did not link the exact story in the body of the video of the interview because I want you all to do a little homework. We do homework at the Warriors. And you'll see People Magazine. You'll see every NBC, CBS, whatever. You will see Brandon's story. He has been very brave coming forward, Representative Guffey, and testifying in front of Congress, being part of the Take It Down roundtable with our First Lady, Melania Trump. He has to do this because I asked him, I said, how, because he's always talking about this daily, how do you do it? And he said, because he has to. And that's what a lot of survivors, these victims of trafficking, exploitation, they all tell me the same story. Their therapy is being proactive, getting out there, educating others. They do not want you to have to go down the path they have been through and down. They are really trying not to slap the Band-Aid on. They're trying to get in there and really raise the awareness, really intervene, and really uh, talk about these issues. We have to erase in 2025 all embarrassment, right? We have to talk about the reality, what it is, right? We have truth and facts on our side. So, as far as Representative Guffey, he really is doing such amazing work. He is to be commended. I am asking all of you to read his story. He created Gavin's Law about sextortion. I want all of you, I linked that, to look at that. It will give you a more complete understanding. Because with these issues, I can rattle them off and give you this and give you that. I want you to take your time. Go back when I provide links, which I do in all the bodies of the interviews. Take your time and read it. Let it absorb. I know some of it is, a lot of it, it's hard to take. It's hard for me. Sometimes I stop in my tracks when I'm writing something, saying something. To talk to a parent face to face is the toughest thing I do at the Warriors, because there is nothing other than listening to them and being there for them and putting a hand on a shoulder, or if they want to share their story. That's the other thing, to empower others. That is all I can do. I can't bring a child back. I can't make them feel better. And as Representative Guffey says, when I said, how is your family doing? Which he says, we are doing the best that can really be expected. There is nothing you can say to a parent who has lost a child. I mean, there's nothing that is tough for me. But what we can do is share the information, right, to family and friends about sextortion and about, especially teenage boys, that this is going on. Karen says, we have to tell our children we will never judge them. Everyone makes innocent mistakes. It's not their fault they were tricked. Thank you, Karen, for mentioning that, because that's the other point. No matter what it is, first of all, if you find anything online regarding your child, or they come to you and tell you anything, you do not get rid of that evidence. That is evidence. You keep it. You're not going to be accused of anything. You keep images, dialogue, you keep it. You have to know what to do, and your child has to know. Even the older kids, they're not going to be screamed at, yelled at, delete that. Wouldn't you rather deal with this than have your child harm themselves? What a shame that children would rather do this to themselves than come to their parents, their guardians, their loved ones, a trusted adult. I mean, we've all done as kids dumb things. Most of us, I'd venture to say most of us here, probably, because I look at my analytics on YouTube, and my analytics it's pretty much an older crowd. That's just what it is. And so I'm saying 45 up. So most of us did not grow up with the internet. So we, as kids, teens, never had to, as young people, deal with any of this at all. With, the device being that open door where the world comes in and can call you names and can judge you and can slip into your direct messages, your DMs, and all kinds of things. And the kids are so pressured, right? And so we have to always let them know, and I mean on a daily basis, we love them. You come to me no matter what. You won't be judged. You're not in trouble. Those predators should be the ones in trouble. Now, the other part of this is, and this is a big one, everything is kind of stuck because of this Section 230, which I talk a lot about on the Warriors. And right now, Senator Josh Hawley does have a bill, a piece of legislation where we're trying to kick this to the curb, because this one piece of legislation from 1996, I mean, almost 30 years ago, it's old already, right, is holding everything up, because at the time we had 2 platforms and it was considered internet, online. It was considered a billboard. It was considered a newsstand. But now we have thousands and thousands of apps and games and platforms. Every day new ones are popping up. So we have to keep, this is part of our job every day. We get up, we eat, we brush our teeth, we go to work, we go to school, we talk about the internet. I also want to point out, as we're talking about all of this, and we're sitting with this AI, right? Because just last Thursday, our First Lady hosted an artificial intelligence roundtable at the White House. And also that evening, the President and First Lady held a dinner. I will say it was a little tough for me to look at that dinner table and see every big tech CEO person there. That being said, okay, it's here, artificial intelligence, the internet not going away. Let's learn how to work with it, with what we have. I'll be meeting next week with HHS in Washington and seeing how we can protect our kids under that Health and Human Resources umbrella, right? How we can best do it. I was disappointed, I will admit. Thank you, Vinny. I gave you a like. Keep up the good fight, sister. Victory. Yes, everybody here, give me a like, okay? Every like counts. That being said, we have to learn how to work with big tech. There is some great artificial intelligence that can really root out all the predators, can do the work so fast, can save the man or woman power. You know, we have that technology. I want to focus on that, right? The good, and also educating the public what we need to be looking for, what we need to be talking to the kids about, what we need to really help them to stay healthy. Because I'm not going to sit here and rattle off again, all the harms of the internet. But the fact, I didn't hear at that dinner table at the White House, the one thing I wanted to hear, you know, I have this keep your enemies close so you know what's going on kind of thing, work with them. But I didn't hear the one thing I wanted to hear when I listened to everybody. And that was, we will work with you to figure out better ways to keep everybody safe. Something acknowledging. Because when I talk to a Representative Guffey or 11-year-old Selena's mom, and she allows me to talk about it, who harmed herself, the big harm, right? Remember, we have algorithms here. That's what sticks in my mind. Why are these children doing this? How are they so influenced by the internet? What are the underlying mental health problems we don't talk about, right? And then I go back to Frances Haugen. That was 2021. So we're here 4 years later, and nothing has really gotten better. Sure, we have Take It Down Act right now, and we are determined, the Kids Online Safety Act, KOSA, K-O-S-A, you know, you've heard me talking about it. We're 5 years into KOSA. I'll be in Washington next week, rallying for that, talking about that, reminding co-sponsors about that, reminding ones who have not signed on to, you know, co-sponsor this bill, because you have to remember, as my husband says, people have the attention span of a gnat. So you have to, and there's a lot going on. You have to keep reminding, go over. It overwhelmingly in the Senate, Kids Online Safety Act, it passed 91-3. Can you imagine who are these three? I mean, I know who they are. I'm just saying, right, facetiously. Now it's at the House. It went up, not to bore you with all the details how Washington works or doesn't work, but it went all the way up the food chain, right, in the House, to the point where all it needs now is for Speaker Mike Johnson to put it on the schedule to go to a vote. That's all it needs. It needs nothing else. However, the whole Congress is done at the end of the year. And then we start in 2026 with a whole new Congress. And when you start with these bills, you start from the bottom and have to go all the way up the food chain again. So we are determined, September, October, November, December, to get this to a vote. When I call upon you, anything with KOSA, I want you to sign on. It's your name and your zip code, and that helps us tremendously show that the public is engaged and involved, and we, as warriors, are doing our job to get you to come on board because you want to keep your kids safe. I can never figure out, people will not go out in the streets and protest for their kids. They'll protest for a lot of other things. I mean, online, because Americans, in my opinion, don't go in the streets. If you've seen anything about Europe and how the masses take to the streets, we don't, and we don't even show that basically here in the media. You have to look at foreign media. We don't do that here in America. We complain online, we complain to each other. We have to start taking action. Um, Anna Luna is doing great work. Yes, she is, Vinny, from Florida, doing great work. But see, we need to support her. So she's also involved. We call all of this bipartisan when we do legislation. It belongs to no political party. That's what we say. I know it's kind of hard to understand. Child safety, family safety, it's about everybody, right? But you know and I know this is still all weaponized, tough to do. So when we have something and ask you, we need the public. It can't just be me and my colleagues and warriors who know about all of this. We need the public to get behind all of this. And that's the part I'm always concerned about, because it's very tough to get the public involved. And it just requires most of the time when we put a take action out for you to sign on and your zip code. And that's it. So we can see what area people are in. Karen says, well, let's start with Fred. Fred says, we need to get all those No Kings protesters on board and Commander, their march. You're absolutely right. But you know what? We can also, let's leverage the internet for good. People say with this subject matter, exploitation, trafficking. Remember, at the Warriors, you call it slavery. That is much more descriptive than that word trafficking, which I will remind you, I think people really don't understand actually what trafficking is, but they understand slavery, enslavement of people, right? Okay. We can create our warriors, our army online even, and come together. That is why when I tell you about a take action, that could come from our colleagues at National Center on Sexual Exploitation, various HEAT initiative. When I tell you, because I have vetted, we are part of it, to please help us. You must help us. We are gearing up for Kids Online Safety Act, okay? We need that just to be scheduled for a vote, because I believe, just like the Senate, 91-3, overwhelming, right, majority voted for it. Every time I say 3, it kind of mentally stops me, because I'm like, who would not vote for keeping kids safe online? If there's a nude image, this is what Take It Down was about, a deep fake or something, and you request from X as an example, or Facebook, take it down, and they don't respond after 48 hours, then you have a right to go after them, right? It's a very simple kind of thing. The other thing we have to talk about, and it's starting to happen, and I'm very excited about it. Well, let me go back, make sure I didn't miss any comments. Karen says, people don't believe the trafficking is happening because they are not hearing it from the media. Well, and Hillbilly says, the right suggestion from Trump would do more than a bill, in my humble opinion. Listen, we do have our First Lady. She very much got behind Take It Down Act. I personally feel, because of her involvement, that was the first piece of child legislation since 1998. Now think about that. That was just a few months ago. She signed on to it, and it got pushed through, okay? Kids Online Safety Act. We are hoping for the same sort of involvement as part of her Be Best campaign. Remains to be seen, but she is committed to keeping kids safe. As far as the president, look, he knows about these things. He needs some further education, I believe, in some of the corners into trafficking, into exploitation, into digital, and we're getting there. And I have full confidence once everybody completely understands a little bit better in the next 1, 2, 3 months, which is happening, we'll see a lot of changes. But we need our warriors out there. We need you to keep up the pressure. We need you, if you have any children or grandchildren, family members with children, to get these issues somehow, some way on the family agendas. Because when I'm reporting to you in September of 2025, we have 4 new whistleblowers now that have come forward to say that Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have intentionally suppressed child safety on their platforms. so they don't rock the boat, so they can continue making their billions and billions. We don't even know what they're making. This is a problem, and this is when people have to speak out. The other thing is, and it's happening, I started saying this before, and this is good news, is there's a first lawsuit pending where the platforms, let me break this down so it's easy to understand, because, people tend to tune out when all this stuff gets technical. And so I'm trying not to get too technical because I want you to stay tuned in. But when treating these platforms as a product, and then they can be held responsible, with Federal Trade Commission and things like that, this is a good direction to go into. But the other thing about, listen, kids are supposed to have, age verification to buy liquor, to buy cigarettes. But basically, you need no age verification to go online, look at pornography, look at dangerous content. Why is this? We all know it's because a lot of money is being made. Is this going away? Let's be truthful. No, but the more of us that talk about it, educate ourselves and our kids. Remember, it's important for us to know as the adults. How can we talk to kids or other family members or friends if we don't know what's going on? To understand. And it's easy because you have lynswarriors.org. You can always write to me, lynn@lynswarriors. protectyoungeyes.com. Every single app that comes out and platform, Chris McKenna, our colleague, gives a description. It's all free. protectyoungeyes.com. See exactly. I can't keep up. He can't keep up with the apps popping up. Right now we have something like, I don't know, 100,000, several every day popping up. The kids know about it, right? The kids are on TikTok. That's one of their main platforms. They're seeing all kinds of stuff. So they know way before we ever know. But we have to do a better job as the adults in educating ourselves, be willing to talk about it, and be willing to talk to the kids. Cord says 350,000 missing that came here. That's not counting the 400 plus missing in the U.S. Yes, I'm always asking every single day, Cord, you are right. Where are the children? I don't receive any answers. Now, bear in mind, approximately 2,300 American kids, forget the borders for a minute, are missing 2,300 a day. So do the multiplication, everybody. Of the 2,300, we have, now bear in mind, we do have sex and labor trafficked. We also have a lot of runaways. We don't talk about that at all. We have so many children in our country living in horrible situations. This is a tough one. And they decide they are better getting out of that house than staying, or they are horribly abused and they leave, or they have parents that kick them out. So bear in mind, we have a lot of runaways. And what happens with runaways? We know within 24 hours, they can fall victim easily to a trafficker, a pimp. But we're not talking about that, okay? We have that. Familial disputes, people getting divorced, families. We have, for instance, the father or the mother will take the child, take it over a border, whatever. We have all those things going on. We have a lot going on. Yes, and you're right, Cord. We do have the highest in missing children. And then on top of it, we had those illegal open borders. We are still asking. I know Bobby Kennedy Jr. is talking now about we're going to find every single one of those children. We know many of them are in sex, and I believe more are actually in labor trafficking. I don't know that to be a fact. What does that tell us, though? It tells us they're employed somewhere. So who's holding these companies responsible, whether it's agriculture, whether it's a meatpacking plant, automotive, who's holding them responsible for any of this? I'm not hearing any talk about, threatening companies or fining companies or whatever, because the truth of the matter is, if you look at stats, studies, Democrats and Republicans like cheap labor. So everybody's kind of looking the other way there. We're gearing up for all kinds of things. I guess Epstein's done kind of this week. Now we're going into Diddy. He's being sentenced. I like to call him Dirty Diddy on October 3rd here in New York. I'm sure we'll get major media attention about that. Let's bring it back to what's happening in our own homes and communities. So, as Hillbilly points out, let's go back to the runaways. This is something we all need to be focused on. If you see something, say something. We need to have safe spaces for kids. We need to have so much that's missing for everybody. Mental health resources. I hear time after time with addiction, families trying to get their family member, their child, into a facility with a bed, and they have to wait. I can't tell you how many times I heard, and then they overdosed. Or as I like to say, for the most part these days, they were poisoned because everything pretty much is being cut with this horrible fentanyl. And now we've got xylazine. I did just the other day, I did a poll right here on YouTube asking about, I think my question was something like, do you know about xylazine? And almost everybody said, no, we never heard of it. Xylazine is stronger than fentanyl and the Narcan. Narcan can bring you back to life if you inject it, if there is a fentanyl poisoning. Remember, poisoning, not overdose. And xylazine, there's no effect if you use Narcan. There's nothing that can counterbalance it, bring you back to life. This is the scariest thing in the world. Why are we not? We talk about cartels now a little bit, right? Cartels, drugs, organized crime. We do not talk about China. So I keep asking, why aren't we talking about China? Because the precursors, the chemicals, are coming from China, pretty much still brought into Mexico, and then distributed into the United States. So we have important and urgent issues. So yes, the warriors were about helping to end human trafficking, exploitation, sharing information. But remember, all of these issues fit into that wheel I like to talk about, all the different spokes. And each one of them it's very complex, makes this wheel go around. We have so many trafficking victims. They're forced into selling drugs, taking drugs, bringing in others to traffic. This is the United States of America. I am shocked that my country allows this. So we at the Warriors will continue every single day, 24/7. 365, talking about this, educating you. You need to know what's going on with your children online. We need to keep supporting each other, sharing good information. Make sure you vet it. There's so many things I see about kids and things online that are not right. They're not true and they're not proven. And I don't think that does a great big disservice to our work at the Warriors, where we're very careful about making sure everything we put out there or talk about true facts, true stories. So be very cautious because, people like to get the likes and the hits and whatever it's all called these days. Make sure you're following the Warriors. Make sure you're signed up. Go to linswarriors.org. Make sure you are signed up for our newsletter. Scroll down. It's on the right side. Make sure when I say we have a take action, or you see it on our X or our Facebook or our Instagram, that you follow along. Share these discussions. Share. Your homework for today, though, is to really go back and look at the interview I just posted with Representative Brandon Guffey, who talks about his son, how he turned this, though, into action and created Gavin's Law to fight sextortion. Still, when I ask people about sextortion, most, I'm in the middle of New York City, still don't know what it is, why it occurs, or what we're going to do about it. Make sure you keep your resources handy. You've got a lot of resources. I am so thrilled that the National Human Trafficking Hotline is very much straightening itself out. It's powerful. It is a wonderful resource. Make sure you keep that number, 888-373-7888, handy. Even if you want to just call them and ask them, what's in my area that I can volunteer at? Or I have some questions about my child. Everything's free, 200 languages. You really have no excuses. We have the internet. We have our computers, our phones. Start looking up the information. Start following good people doing good work. And always honor our hashtag Community Creates Change. And with that, I want to thank Fred for always participating and helping us out and sharing our knowledge. I want everybody, next time we talk, we're going to talk about Representative Brandon Guffey and more on sextortion, because enough people aren't understanding it, that it's happening. We talk about it after the fact. We have to talk about it with kids before the fact. And we have to talk about what's going on more in the schools. We have to press on them as taxpayers, but we have to come together in numbers. It can't be a parent here and there or a grandmother here and there or a grandfather. We can't have what's going on right now. You can follow us. Also, we do our Warrior Wednesdays on WABC Radio. Full disclosure, on my husband's show, The Other Side, the best side of midnight on WABC Radio with Lionel. And just stay tuned. A lot of good things are coming along the pike. I'm a frequent contributor with Nancy Grace. Breaking news can now be seen, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, on the new Fox One streaming platform. I'm very excited about that. Lots of eyes on that one. So just be aware, there's a lot of information. There's a lot you can read on your own. But just remember one thing, and I really mean this when I say this. We live in a different world. We all have to and must do something. Somehow, some way. You don't have to march on Washington. That would be good, but we don't have to do that. We need to have information. We need to be smart. We need to talk to our kids. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Our hashtag is community creates change. Do it in your own home. And you'll make me a very happy warrior, because it all starts in the home, in the community. And with that, thank you. Now go out and enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk again soon. Thanks, everybody.